Hey everybody, this is Espionic.
And this is Yoshi Part 4.
And welcome to our E3 2017 discussion. I'll start off by saying that we'll mostly be talking about Nintendo because we are Nintendo fans first and foremost, and I'll also make mention of this. So, I want to start off by getting this game out of the way. Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash. I'm happy that we're seeing it in English. I don't have much more to say about this game, mainly because I talked about it a couple of times in previous videos beforehand. I don't think I ever got the chance to mention that I love the idea of the V-Road Challenge. It's the tournament mode that they have where you can basically make a dream team of 5 of the girls and compete in a single player tournament of some sort. I do really like that addition. It gives me, as someone who doesn't really have access to online gameplay, something more to do with the game. The only things I'm not really sure about are like the release, because I've heard conflicting things about, like, the trailer says summer, but the E3 trailer says summer, but I've heard fall, so I'm not too sure about that. And the No Shirt, No Shoes All Service Edition, I love that name. Apparently it's the only way to get a physical copy of the game, and I really hope that I can get a physical copy of the game because I won't be able to play it otherwise, and if I don't get that, then I'll be a very sad panda. But I'm glad that we're seeing the English version of the game so soon. I still can't believe that it's getting localized that fast, but considering that there's only like the one way to get a physical copy of the game, I'm not that surprised it took that short amount of time to get it localized. Anyway, speaking of titles by Marvelous, there's Fate Extella, the Umbral Star. Do you have any more personal interest in this game?
Yes.
Well, do you care to elaborate?
No, well, not really, but I would say it's a very action-packed game that I would like to play.
Yeah, I mentioned this game a few times to you, actually, and I mentioned how flashy and over-the-top it is. It might be good for waiting for a certain other warrior-styled game, but we'll get to that later. It is not going to be too long before it comes out. It comes out July 25th, I believe, for the Nintendo Switch, so that's cool. I actually recently learned that the Fate series actually started off as a pornographic series.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah.
No wonder you got Marvelous to do that game, huh?
Anyway, on to a game you're pretty interested in, Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom.
That was pretty cool to see the sequel. That a while ago, seeing a sequel of the game was pretty surprising. I thought that game was just going to get one and done and just people forget about it.
Yeah, it's a drop-dead gorgeous game. It's one of the prettiest games I've seen probably ever.
Yeah.
And the combat looks a lot more intense this time around.
Like, where it was just basically, you just did, like, yeah, if you ever seen regular Ni no Kuni, you just did, like, you could either fight yourself or just send your familiars. Now it's like, you're using spells, you're using swords, you're using everything in between and that.
I think it's safe to say this is, like, basically the only PlayStation 4 game you're interested in.
Yeah.
And even then, it's also coming to PC. I'm pretty sure they showed a PC version of that trailer because it looks so good.
They probably did.
Alright, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Do you have anything to say about it?
Well, it certainly does look like something out of one of the Metroid-style Castlevanias, so I would say on that part, Iga is on the track with that.
Maybe it's just me, but like, well, comparing it, I guess, to other games that he's done, it looked like the characters' walking animation looked kind of slow and stiff to me. Like, I know that it's gonna be a while before the game comes out. That's just something I happen to notice, and I don't know if it's gonna look any better like later on. I'm hoping it does, but I don't know. We'll see about that game. I'm just hoping that it doesn't turn out like a certain other crowdfunded game. So, Bethesda actually showed Skyrim, the Nintendo Switch version of Skyrim, in their presentation. I was surprised by the announcement of the amiibo support, but I was really shocked that they even incorporated motion controls into this version of the game.
Yeah, I'll be surprised, cause I guess that's right to be surprised, cause people hate them shitty gimmicks.
No, I'm actually surprised how much effort is being put into this version of the game. They're doing things to make it stand out and making it a bit more appealing to people who have a Nintendo Switch. It might be different enough to encourage people to buy it on there, assuming they like motion controls, and there are people who do, so that might be enough of a difference for people to actually get it. Let's move on to Sonic Forces. The E3 trailer mostly focused on bosses and villains, and the boss fights that they showed look pretty intense.
We have like the Egg Dragoon show up.
Yeah, I was not expecting the Egg Dragoon to come back again.
Or the Egg Dragoon to essentially be like some kind of first boss or something.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's been in Unleashed and in Generations, and seeing it again, I do like how it looks different from both of those versions of the fight.
Well, both of those fights had it in a place that was the penultimate area. Not all of a sudden, you're in like the first area of the very first game, and now you're facing the giant death robot.
Well, when I was thinking of Giant Death Robot, I'm also thinking of that giant, I guess, spider-like robot.
Oh yeah, the one that chases original the character.
And I think the most shocking thing for me from the trailer was, like, the villains that we see there, because I guess it gets a bit more insight to what the story might be like, because when Shadow popped up in that trailer, I was surprised to see him there and sort of opposing Sonic again. It was kind of like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's kind of weird when you have like Zavik and Metal Sonic makes sense. Chaos and Shadow don't. Well, Shadow in the context of everything said and done, and Chaos was never really evil. It was just more pissed off at the world than anything.
Well, for me, it's mostly a matter of, like, Metal Sonic definitely makes sense to me. In the case of Zavik and Chaos, I'm more wondering how did they get here?
Like, yeah, Zavik, because it would make sense that Zavik would join the bad guys wanting revenge against Sonic for Sonic kicking his ass, but it still wonders how he got here, because I'm pretty sure he found lava or something.
Like, Shadow is the one that kind of sticks out to me, because it's like, why is he, like, basically working with the bad guys again? I know it's something that people have... I've seen this a lot of people say over the years, that they've wanted Shadow to take more of a antagonistic role again, and I don't know, it's just like, well, okay, why is he... Like, what reason does he have to side with the villains?
Because I would kind of go against what Maria wanted him to do.
And there's that new villain. Apparently, that new villain is called Infinite. I don't know what the deal with it is.
Kind of looks like a bat.
Okay, I wasn't the only one thinking that. I did get sort of a bat vibe running from it. What do you think of his overall design?
Kind of something you see out of... I'm gonna be honest, it's pretty out the edge. And I'm kind of worried that the story's gonna go to that same point where it's going so
Would you
dark.
say it's at least better than Mephiles' design?
Well, it's better than Mephiles' design because at least he is his own design, not I just went to a Sonic fan creator site and we colored Shadow.
Well, how about the more crystalline design of Mephiles?
I'm kind of mixed on that, but still you look like Shadow.
Well, now let's get to talking about Nintendo's Spotlight presentation. They started with like a sizzle reel of Nintendo Switch games, and then they started talking about games that they, I guess, wanted to have more focus in this presentation, like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I'm surprised that they started with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I would have never guessed that, but we have English voice acting that everybody's making fun of. We got a look at some of the gameplay. What do you think of it?
Well, it still looks like the same Xenoblade, but it's very different. I thought it'd be something like this probably be something continuing from the Xenoblade Chronicles, original Xenoblade Chronicles. Like the sword you see was some kind of new Minato, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, it's basically it looks like the weapons that you use are like they're like also these living people, it seems like.
That follow you and lend their powers to every fight you're in.
Yeah, it actually I kind of like that because it adds the sense that you have more party members than you technically actually do. And speaking of which, we have a Nopon party member like you wanted.
Yeah. So, like, Xenoblade Chronicles X doesn't have a Nopon party member. Because I don't think Tatsu joins you because they can't really use guns. They can't use a step.
Speaking of that Nopon party member, I don't know if it's male or female, but Tora is its name, and people noticed Tetsuya Nomura's name in the credits for designing Torna, and I think people got that confused. They thought that they meant that Nopon character, but it apparently is actually referring to an organization that's in the game.
Oh. Well, I'm not surprised that I'm surprised they got someone from Square Enix to design characters, but Tetsuya Nomura has designed a lot of characters.
Well, I bet you're just glad that you saw his character designer, not writer.
Yeah, he's not writer. Writer, he's a bit hit and miss on.
Well, you're being nicer now than you were. I mentioned it to you before. So, Pyra.
Yeah.
Her design's interesting.
We know the real reason why Rex took the sword.
I mean, just looking at Pyra, it's like I might have to play Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and then when I do, I just stare at her the entire time, and I'll idiotically run into like a level 80-something monster that'll kill me, and like, worth it. And I'll just make like no progress whatsoever. The game is still slated for 2017, specifically holiday 2017. So, yeah, so far so good for that. We'll see if that stands.
I'm surprised that it's still... Well, I was surprised that, like, these games are huge and they still got this on 2017.
So the next game that they showed was Kirby for Nintendo Switch, and I have to say, I'm pretty excited for this game. This actually ranks as my second favorite game of E3 this year, along with Fire Emblem Warriors, which is saying a lot because I'm a Kirby fan. I've played and beaten a lot of the games, but when a Kirby game gets announced in a presentation or Nintendo Direct or something like that, I know that I'll end up playing it, but it's never the game I I'd be most excited for, especially compared to like some of the other games. But this is the most excited I've ever been for a Kirby game, I think, ever. And it's kind of weird, like, one of the dumbest things for me is, like, one of the most hype moments for me in that trailer was seeing the return of Clean Kirby. I don't know why that excited me more than almost everything else in that trailer, but... well, they call it cleaning now. I think that's a... For what I can tell, it's actually a reference to Kirby Right Back at You. But I remember using that in Dreamland 3 with Choo-Choo a lot because I thought that was a fun ability to use. And I really do like Choo-Choo. I don't care if people say that she sucks. She's the most adorable thing ever, so I love her. And that ability hasn't been seen since Dreamland 3.
Oh, they brought Nago to be one of your attacks. I like Nago, the Japanese bobtail.
And they also show that you can make enemies into helpers like you could in Kirby Superstar, and you can have them be CPU or human controlled with Return to Dreamland style multiplayer. They brought back combining abilities. They seem to have both the Kirby 64 variation and the Squeak Squad variation, which I think is really cool.
One of them was a fire sword, and then you can turn into a curling. You can go curling, and I'm pretty sure you actually turn enemies to ice when you hit them. Well, yeah, that seems to be the case.
I think the reason why I think the main reason why I'm so excited for this is that it kind of compares to the sort of excitement I had for Super Mario 3D World when it was first announced, because it seemed like they were taking a bunch of, like, really well-known great elements from past Mario games and put them all together in one game, and this looks like it's doing the same sort of thing. You know, when in the trailer when they were like describing, like, sometimes you need a hero, and when it said, like, within the station advertising, like, well, I knew it was Kirby, but I thought it was going to be that 3DS Kirby game that they mentioned in that Nintendo Direct back in April. I was like, and when I saw, like, wait, this looks way too good to be a 3DS game. Oh. It's a beautiful looking game. Like, even just, like, looking at Wispy was the detail on him was great.
Like, see, that's what I thought too. I also thought that too, but then when I saw, like, wait, this looks very HD, I'm like, wait, what's going on? I thought we'd see something about that game, but
yeah, and we still, as of right now, we still know nothing about that game.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's supposed to be a holiday 2017 title, whereas this is a 2018 game.
Yeah.
But either way, I'm very much looking forward to it. Like, I'm actually, like, I can't remember, like, being this excited for a Kirby game.
And, like, I can't wait to break out the fire sword again.
So, anyway, next they made a brief mention of Pokkén Tournament Deluxe, but we haven't really had the chance to talk about this yet, but... Like, Pokkén Tournament being ported to the Nintendo Switch doesn't surprise me at all. I thought it would be one of the games that they would do that with, because it had all those arcade-exclusive characters, and Pokkén Tournament on the Wii U actually did rather well, so I was thinking, there's no way they're going to let that arcade-exclusive content just stay arcade-exclusive.
Yeah, that'd be kind of ball.
Yeah. And sure enough, we're getting all the arcade-exclusive characters, along with a new character being the Decidueye. They've added a 3-on-3 mode, which I think is a really cool addition to give it more of a Pokemon sort of feel.
Like, I was surprised, like, I was expecting them to put that version. I was not expecting to get a Gen 7 Pokemon this soon. And you can see a few of them. Like Pakuyo and Litner, your assist.
Yeah. The Decidueye looks fun to play as. But out of all of the formerly arcade-exclusive characters, I'd say Kroguk actually looks the most fun to play. I love how agile it is.
And Kroguk was also a helper Pokemon. And they got upgraded to playable characters.
Which of the new characters do you like the most?
Sizzle. But I also started to like the Sizzle too.
Even though it's just a port, the game might actually do rather well because, like I said, Pokkén Tournament did surprisingly well on the Wii U, and there's a surprisingly strong tournament scene for this game. I remember for EVO this year, they actually had people vote on which one game they wanted to get in. I believe Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 got in, but Pokkén Tournament was actually a really close second, so that should tell you just how strong the tournament scene for that game is, so... yeah. And that wasn't the only Pokemon-related announcement there, because they officially confirmed that there is a Pokemon game being developed for the Nintendo Switch, and they describe it as a core RPG Pokemon title, and it may not come out for over a year. And I guess at this point all we could do is sort of speculate on what that game is. A lot of people are thinking that it's Generation 8.
I at first was kind of thinking something to Pokemon Coliseum.
As much as I would love that, I don't think that's it, and I would probably be one of 5 people that would like that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it, like, could it be Generation 8? Like the easiest way to tell when a new Pokemon generation is upon us is by watching the anime. And spoiler alert for the anime, you mentioned to me that, like, for what you can tell, Ash is about halfway through the Island Challenge. At least approximately halfway there.
That's what it seems like it is.
Which is kind of fast. Like, the pacing of the anime will, like, easily tell you, like, when the next generation is coming up. So, but even then, it's still kind of hard for me to tell because that just seems like, the anime seems like it's going through Sun and Moon faster than I thought it would, and I have a hard time believing that they would spend only 2 seasons on Sun and Moon. Like for each sort of generation, with the exception of Gen 1, they spent at least 3 years on, like, covering a particular game, basically. So, I just find it weird.
I'm not really sure where it's at, because I haven't really been keeping track of it as a review.
Yeah, but you mentioned, basically, you're pretty sure Ash is about halfway through the Island Challenge. So, I don't know, it's hard for me to tell, even judging from the anime, because it's like, well, I'm not sure, like, if... I'm figuring they would have to have at least 3 seasons, because that's how every other saga has had it, but then again, this saga is very different from the previous one, so... I don't know, it's still kind of hard to tell, but... it could be Generation 8, we'll just have to wait and see. But... and I also think they kind of announced this because when Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were announced, people got, like, really salty, like, oh, where's our... we were supposed to get a Nintendo Switch game because the rumor said so. And I think they probably just announced it just to sort of address that sort of complaint, I guess.
Probably. I still like seeing that Beware plushie.
You know, I love how they mentioned during their presentation that we're gonna mostly focus on 2017 games, and then they announce Metroid Prime 4, which doesn't have any release time slated yet.
Yeah, it's now in development, by the way.
Just the mere announcement of this game had people saying that Nintendo won E3. I don't really have much to say about Metroid Prime 4 since I'm not a Metroid fan whatsoever, but I think some people were kind of speculating when it will come out. I remember that Kensuke Tanabe, I believe he's the director of the series, he mentions that whenever a game is made, I think specifically for a console, it takes about 3 years. I'm not sure if by what they say now in development for Nintendo Switch, they mean like, oh, we basically started it like maybe like a month or two before this announcement, or like maybe they started working on this since they finished with Federation Force. I'm not sure. So it's hard for me to tell if it'll come out like some people are thinking like maybe 2020 at the earliest, but I don't know. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 kind of surprised me with it. Like, oh, it's coming out in 2017, and you know it's going to be a massive game, and it's coming out only 2 years after Xenoblade Chronicles X. So who knows? It might come out sooner. And I think another thing that, well, it might not happen, but for what I remember hearing, all the other Metroid Prime games, except for maybe Federation Force, I'm not entirely sure about that, but apparently all of them have used a version of the Unreal Engine, like earlier versions of it. So chances are this game will use Unreal Engine 4, which, judging from a certain other game, people will be fangasming all over the graphics of this game if they use it.
Yeah.
And I think it is like a really good engine to use for a game like Metroid Prime 4. And it turns out that that wasn't the only Metroid game that they announced, because they announced Metroid Samus Returns later after the presentation during the Treehouse stream, and it's a remake and / reimagination of Metroid 2. Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it has new abilities like the melee counter and the is it Aeon?
I think it's Aeon.
Yeah, the Aeon abilities. It has this really user-friendly map. I really do like how user-friendly this game looks to be. It looks like the best game to enter the Metroid series with.
Or it has a map telling you where to go, and you can even put things to place on if you want to grab an item later, but you don't have the item question.
Yeah, I really do like all of those additions to the game. And they also announced a new Metroid and a new Samus amiibo. That Samus amiibo does look amazing, I must say.
It's like, it is pretty much her artwork from the original Game Boy game.
And I also have to say that this game being on the Nintendo 3DS just shows how intelligent Nintendo is, because placing this on the 3DS, it's like, you've seen how people are like, oh, we're so sick of the 3DS, we want you to just focus on the Switch, because we want to make sure we never have a drought of games ever again, and blah blah blah. And like, but we've also heard for years people begging Nintendo for a new Metroid game that's stars Samus, and it's like, okay, we're gonna give you that game, but we're putting it on the 3DS, so if you want it, you have to get a 3DS. Like, I remember, I think in an interview where Reggie basically admitted that Nintendo plans on milking the 3DS for all it's worth, and I think that's a brilliant way of doing that, by putting a game on there that people desperately wanted. Like, you want to show your support for this series, you're gonna have to get a 3DS.
Yeah. Like, I never got, like, at parts of me it feels like, sometimes I feel like when people say those things about droughts, it's like, some part of it is like, I feel like some part of it is you putting it all yourself because you don't want to play every game.
Like, I don't even think it's necessarily an issue, because the Nintendo Switch is getting plenty of games. Clearly it is.
So you can't say that there. So I really don't think why you're worrying about this.
Well, I think it has more to do with the fact that people were saying that they were sick of the Nintendo 3DS, but it's like, Nintendo's gonna put games that people want on there. Like, I'm actually almost thinking that the whole... We've had a lot of remakes lately for the Nintendo 3DS. I'm almost thinking that they're going to remake Mother 3 on the 3DS.
They probably are.
Just to, like, further emphasize that we're like, oh, you've wanted this game for like a decade. Okay, buy a 3DS for it. I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. But either way, this game is coming out really soon, September 15th. I'm happy there are new Metroid games, one being Classic 2D and Metroid Prime 4. If only because Metroid fans will finally shut up now. I know not all Metroid fans are like this, but they're some of the most annoying and obnoxious video game fans I've ever seen. Anyway, they next showed another 2018 game, Yoshi for Nintendo Switch. This definitely looks to be a spiritual successor to Yoshi's Woolly World, but instead of wool, it has like a diorama sort of art style, which looks absolutely gorgeous. This is actually using Unreal Engine 4 as well.
I'm surprised that was. I didn't think it was using Unreal Engine, but...
Well, that's because it's not using it to... Like, it's using it for very realistic graphics, but it's still doing it in a stylized way. It's not like it's making, like, these realistic-looking characters with that engine or something like that. But yeah, the game is basically Yoshi's Woolly World meets Super Paper Mario.
Mainly because you can flip.
You know, it actually kind of makes me think of, like, it seems like it would be a 3DS game because of how you interact with the foreground and background like that.
No, it's going on the Switch.
The only potential issue I have with this game, and it probably won't be that much of an issue anyway, like, I'm not sure if you necessarily have to play, like, the level over again to have it flipped around like that, because I prefer being able to flip the stage around whenever I want. And that apparently only works when you're playing in 2-player, so I'm not sure if it's going to feel I don't know if it's going to feel repetitive or anything, because looking at the same level from that flip perspective does change the level quite a bit. But I don't know. That's like the one thing I'm kind of a little bit iffy about, but either way, I do like what I see of this game. I still haven't played Woolly World yet. I really need to get to that game.
I kind of wanted to play the 3DS version after a while.
So, next they showed Fire Emblem Warriors. The trailer and the presentation was, I guess, more of a story trailer, in which we saw exactly what the story is about, and we had some more of the characters revealed. One of them being Korra, which makes me really, really happy, because it's the female version of her, and she looks super fun to play as. Which character did you like seeing the most?
Well, honestly, I was glad to see. I wanted to see Korra, male or female, in any context, because I actually like Korra. Well, I like the ability that Korra has is turn into a dragon.
Yeah.
And Chrom. I was glad to see Chrom.
Well, we already knew about him.
Yeah, we already knew about him, but Chrom became a favorite of mine. Well, but honestly, his Seiyu, honestly. he's like, and I also like that he also plays Axel Stone in Project Crossing too. The thing I was kind of disappointed about, that I'm kind of hoping that you actually got to custom the original characters. That the twins, Liana and Rowan.
Oh yeah, Liana and Rowan.
I'm kind of hoping that you got to their names.
You might be able to. Who knows?
Like, their names and personalities, they're still the same, but you could kind of choose, like, their weapons or how they look.
It's entirely possible. I feel like that Koei Tecmo takes a lot of details like that into consideration, so... Now, it's time to rant about something, because
Yeah.
Just why did people decide to remove their brains from their heads? People have been complaining about the roster of characters so far because they're all sword users and they're all from Awakening and Fates, and it's just like these 5 characters that they were like alongside Crom, and like these characters that were revealed in this trailer. We saw their weapons in the very first trailer, so you should not be surprised that they're in the game.
Don't say that. Yeah, seriously, don't say that they did it. Watch the trailer that was in the Switch presentation.
We literally identified their weapons.
We saw the Falchion. You see the Falchion. You see the Falchion. You see Yato. You see Rajinto. You see Siegfried, and you see the original Falchion held by Marth.
Like,
you saw all.
If you're a Fire Emblem fan, you knew all of those characters. Like, we're not even Fire Emblem fans, and we knew whose weapons those were.
Yeah.
So don't act surprised. Like, why are they in the game? Because you should have known they were already in the game. Also, secondly, remember, this is Koei Tecmo. See what they did with Warriors? Like,
yeah,
what
all those
type
characters
of characters
had swords. Every single one of them had swords.
Like and how well they represented the entire series with characters from that game.
I don't know why people were so upset seeing all sword users. I'm like, guys, you do realize
that we've only seen 7 characters, right?
You know how many characters there are in a Warriors game? A lot.
And to add to that,
all of them use swords.
And to add to that, Koei Tecmo, I don't know if people noticed, but Koei Tecmo has confirmed that this Warriors game will have more characters in it than any crossover game that they've done so far.
This is not even getting into the fact that they admitted to that their key word here being mostly. Mostly the characters were going to be from Fates, both of the Fates games. Birthright,
and Awakening.
Awakening, and apparently Shadow Dragon.
Yeah.
These are the same team that was part of making Hyrule Warriors. To reiterate, you know the characters they put in that game? You're thinking they're just gonna use sword fighters, cause look, Link has a sword, Zelda has a sword, Impa has a sword, Fi is a sword, Kyurem is a sword, Ganondorf has swords. Yeah, but they put in characters like Tingle and Medley and Marin. Marin attacks a goddamn bell. That's about as much as wacky as Liu Shan attacking with a table.
Like, you know this isn't... People are acting like this is the entire roster, and it's just stupid.
They want to bring in the things from Fire, like the weapon triangle. You're thinking that they're just going to put up sword fight, like, we're going to put the weapon triangle, so here's all the sword fighters. That's it.
I've noticed it's starting to become a really annoying trend where people are literally, like, basically assuming what they see in the trailer is the entire game.
Yep, that's it.
And, you know, people are actually kind of turning on this game because of their own idiocy.
I really just still don't get that, because I was surprised when you brought that up. That they're like, really? I'm like, we already knew these characters were here, guys. I mean, you saw the weapons in the trailer. The very first trailer.
Yeah, like...
This is Koei. You see the characters they put in the Warriors game, in the regular Warriors game, they're like, oh, there's characters with swords in those games. Yeah, but there was also a character that fought with a table. I'm not kidding. There's a character who fought with a table. There's a character who manipulates gravity with a horsehair whip.
Chances are they aren't going to go that crazy.
No, they're probably going to go that crazy. I can't wait to see a Pegasus Knight after all the shit Xander can pull. That horse don't find physics.
Fair enough. But yeah, rant over, I guess. What did you think of the Coliseum mode?
It just seems like it was going to be the equivalent of something like Hyrule Warriors had the adventure mode, where you played certain set events where you were now completely outside of the regular story. Though you can still kind of technically have wacky events in the free play mode to an extent.
Yeah, I didn't get that far into the adventure map. I've been meaning to, but...
Where you unlock other characters and their
yeah,
weapons.
I've been wanting to do that in Hyrule Warriors, but I just haven't had the time to, and problems have arisen that prevent me from doing so. But...
yeah, and I'm kind of pissed about those problems too, because I managed to get the change home.
Anyway, I'm really looking forward to this. It's actually tied with Kirby as my second favorite game I've seen from E3 this year. They're still saying fall 2017. I was hoping for a specific date, but we'll learn that soon enough, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Next day went on to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. They show the DLC packs. DLC Pack 1, The Master Trials, is going to add new modes, items, and challenges to the game, and DLC Pack 2 called The Champion's Ballad, which they didn't really say what it was. People are speculating that it's some sort of scenario where you get to play as the champions, which is, I guess, is cool. I don't have much to say about this since I still don't have Breath of the Wild yet, and thinking about that makes me feel very sad. But it all looks great.
Skyrim was kind of making reference to Breath of the Wild. When you put an amiibo on there, the chest appears like that. Items in chest will appear. You can get certain items relevant to that Zelda themed amiibo.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that, but they also have amiibo of the 4 champions. They look cool, I guess. I don't really know much about them. All I know is that apparently the Rito Romali is kind of a douche.
Apparently, yeah. Well, the 4 champions have a relevance to the story if you choose to go with said story anyway, because you could just say screw it and not bother with any.
I kind of want to skip ahead a bit to Rocket League. Apparently, a Nintendo Switch version is something that both the Nintendo Switch users and Rocket League fans have wanted, and it's getting all the content that the other versions have gotten, along with exclusive customization items, exclusive battle cars, local wireless multiplayer, and cross-network play. That's all great. That's a great way to introduce a game to a new audience.
And of course, Mario's hat was on there.
Yeah, I pointed that out to you because when I showed you the presentation, because reasons.
Yeah.
Reasons that I think will probably... Well, actually, I did want to mention that, like, I think probably the big thing for... Rocket League is probably the local wireless multiplayer, because this is going to be the only version that has that, I think.
Oh.
And a lot of these, like, online multiplayer games don't have local multiplayer nowadays, and because of how convenient the Switch is for that, it's a really nice addition to it. So, you know how Nintendo fans have complained for the past almost decade or so that the Mario series has become stagnant, it's creatively bankrupt, it's afraid to take risks. Well, Nintendo decided to stare them dead in the face and say, challenge freaking accepted. Because that's what Super Mario Odyssey is. This game just doesn't care. Like a sphinx in the middle of the forest? Who cares? Let's have that.
A guy crashes his taxi in the middle of the desert? Who cares? Just add that.
My thought process from watching this trailer is like, I see like the beautiful scenery of the grass and the waterfall and the birds flying in the distance, and you see the T-Rex come on screen, and I was like thinking, wow, what is this game? Is this like a new IP or something like that? And then you see it turn around and roar, and then you notice the Mario cap out of there, like, and then Mario pops out of there, like, wait, this was Odyssey?
They got Yoshi from the Super Mario Bros. Movie that make heroes. That's the thing. Not sure how to feel about that.
You know, I think you might have actually watched this trailer more than I have, just because of the song that
I
they
love
had.
that song. I really do. It's apparently called Jump Up Superstar.
Yeah, like, it really stands out because it actually has vocals. It's technically not the first game in the series that has that, because I believe it's Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix actually has a song with vocals in it. An original song with vocals in it, but yeah, it is a really catchy song. And in the trailer we saw that Mario gets a bunch of different costumes that he can wear. That actually didn't surprise me. I was actually kind of thinking, when looking, I noticed a crazy cap sort of like, okay, that has to serve some kind of purpose. I wouldn't be surprised if Mario actually got to buy costumes that were basically based on whatever area he was in, and turns out that's the case. And just to quickly get into the amiibo for Super Mario Odyssey, they have Wedding Mario, Wedding Peach, and Wedding Bowser.
Yeah.
And apparently other amiibo will function with this game, and I think, based on what I've seen, a lot of people are speculating that the amiibo will give you, like, other costumes that are basically based on the character. Like, if you, like, use, I guess, say, Wario or Waluigi, you can make Mario just Wario or Waluigi's clothes, basically.
So, would the yellow shirt would the yellow shirt be long sleeve or short sleeve?
Does it really matter?
They just rolled up Wario sleeves all of a sudden, like Wario World, I think.
That was done like 10 years ago. I don't know why you're even like that still sticks with you, but you know, I jokingly brought this up. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they did this. I was kind of thinking that, like, using the Pikachu amiibo would have you give Mario, like, an Ash Ketchum costume.
From original series or from the 20th movie?
Well, the reason why I was thinking of that was because of the Ash hat event that they have with the Pikachu. And I was thinking that... Like, I wouldn't be surprised, like, shortly before that movie comes out, they have a trailer like, hey, look what you can do with the Pikachu amiibo. You dress as... Well, I don't know which outfit it would be, but, like...
Probably original series.
Well, I don't know. They have, like, all the hats for... I know it's just, like, one hat compared to, like, an entire outfit, but they had, like, they made sure to represent, like, all of those hats for all those different kinds of Pikachu, so I don't know, maybe you could get a costume of your choice. Either or not, it would most likely be, I would think, the outfit that Ash has in the actual movie. But, I don't know, I'm just speculating at that point. And the trailer demonstrated you know, I was thinking, when we saw the moves that Mario could do with his hat in the first trailer, I was thinking, there has to be more to that hat that meets the eye. I wasn't thinking at all that you basically get to possess things with the cap. Or capture, as they call it, because it's a pun and it sounds less disturbing. That was definitely the most surprising thing for that trailer.
Well, after a while, it kind of made sense because your little buddy friend, your new buddy, Cappy, he kind of had his normal form is a top hat with strands of hair. His strands of hair kind of did make me think of Possessor Ghost from Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon.
Yeah, well, you brought that up to me, that kind of makes sense. Also, shoutouts to Matt Mattelli of the Super Gaming Brothers for predicting this gameplay mechanic well before this game was even announced.
Yeah, it worked.
I might just insert that video clip in if you give it to me. I
have it, so...
Yeah.
That would be a really interesting idea for a psychological horror game with Mario. Depending on what cap he has, he gets that person's attributes and powers.
It was... Pretty sure it said it's a joke, but, like, now it seems to be some kind of weird canon. Like, Mario can possess his enemies and use their abilities. Like, certain little plant guy, he can use this ability to extend his roots. Fire Bro, he can throw fireballs.
It's basically Fire Mario.
He can essentially just be Fire Mario by possessing a fire brother.
Yeah, when I showed the presentation to you, when Rocket League showed up and they showed the Mario hat on the car, I was like, hey, look, there's a Mario hat on the car. Turns out that's in Super Mario Odyssey.
And, like, you can even possess a taxi, apparently.
Yeah, Nintendo does that, like, all the time, where, like, they show the subtle thing that you'll think nothing of, and it turns out...
Or you don't think that much about it. Like, the direct after the passing of Satoru Iwata, you see Cloud.
And Final Fantasy Explorers are like, oh, look, there's Cloud. Where's he? What a Nintendo game is.
At the end, he's in Smash Brothers.
One of the other surprises that I didn't look, like, people apparently caught onto this, like, just from watching the trailer. It took me, like, watching some of the Treehouse footage and people talking about it, but, like, apparently the song was sung by Pauline, who's the mayor of New Donk City.
She came a long way. I'm
apparently she's a really freaking good mayor, because, one, apparently the city was, like...
ravaged by a robot Wiggler. Honestly, it doesn't make me think of Wiggler.
And, like, she got the city up and running really fast. And the people love her so much that she's on their freaking currency.
Yeah.
I was really surprised that they really, like, Pauline has sort of come back. Like, she actually has appeared in, like, a few of the Mario vs. Donkey Kong games. She's actually, like, in the most recent game in the series. I think Tipping Stars is what it's called. And, like, the plot of that game was, like, classic you rescue her from Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
And now they just, like... So they've been playing around with the character for, like, the past, like, decade or so, but, like, they really brought her back in a really surprising way. What do you think of the locations that we've seen so far?
They kind of go, well, they're very different, but they also have that feeling that they are Mario at the end of the day. Where this doesn't feel like, I felt kind of mixed on the fact that Mario was running around with real photorealistic humans around, because it felt like...
Well, this is what happens when you have people whine that, like, oh, Mario's boring now. They don't take risks. They do Sonic Adventure crap.
Yeah. But part of me is like, but I'm glad to see there are things that it still feels Mario. I had no problem with anything being put different in the Mario series, but I didn't want it to be something like drastically changed, so it's like practically... I didn't want a change that said, this doesn't... Where I go is that this isn't Mario. This is far from it. And I'm glad to still see that there's still something that says it's still Mario, because of all the wacky things, the inhabitants of the world, what Mario's abilities are. And how you collect and oddly in the not power stars in this game.
Yeah, they're power moons.
Which is essentially power stars with just 0 number falling off.
Yeah.
The moon's not even a star. The sun's the size price, they're still stars because the sun's a star, the moon isn't. The moon's just a giant rocket here.
What do you have a favorite location so far?
My favorite location is New Donk City, actually, after a while.
I love New Donk City, but we barely saw it in the trailer, but you showed me, like, the atlas that they have for the game. The area I'm talking about is apparently called Fossil Falls. I love how that area looks. It looks breathtaking. And, like, speaking of, like, that, the graphics look a lot better than they did in the first trailer. I can tell just from looking at Peach's hair. Like, her hair looks a lot more detailed than it did in the first trailer.
Yeah. It's just, they kind of do show, it's kind of just show that Nintendo does, that was like an early build, because, when you just kind of show
people liked how it looked the first time, actually.
Yeah. But you're going to tell that you can see, like, when you toss your hat, where, by the way, Mario is now just showing odd jump. I still stand by that. It's awesome that Mario is essentially odd jump. But you can kind of see Cappy's eyes stick out when you toss the cap down sometimes.
Yeah, actually, going back to the costumes for a brief moment, like, I remember, like, people pointing out, like, these references that the costumes are making, and, like, some of them are obvious, like, Mario has his NES golf outfit, and, like, but apparently more obscure ones, like the Explorer outfit, it's actually a reference to Mario's Macross, of all things.
When you brought that up, then I realized that, yeah.
I would think more. I I know it's not specifically based off of this, but I think of Mario Party 2 when I see the Explorer outfit on him, because, like, it's sort of like the outfit that he had when you had him in Mystery Land. But, and apparently the chef costume is supposed to be a reference to Yoshi's Cookie, but you felt like it was more...
At first, I thought it was a reference to Game & Watch Gallery 2, namely the modern chef, where Mario and Luigi were the cooks, tossing food to Princess Peach so she could feed the Yoshi at the bottom.
Yeah. And the design of this game, is... It's extremely reminiscent of Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, like, Bumble's transformations, that's basically, like, Mario's new capture feature, because, like, the musical notes you collect in those games, like, the currency that you have, the purple currency you have, like, basically reminds me of that. And I do like how they're purple. I was kind of thinking that they were purple for a reason. I was thinking, oh, there's probably like 100 of them in each world, and turns out there is.
But they're used to indicate if you found them in. Well, they're trying to get to a theme of one of the things about culture, going to their culture, is the money they have, how different it is from the money you used. I like I would say also, probably feel like they should also have food there too, because food is also a weird thing of food and money is like the weird thing to separate each country with their culture.
I wouldn't be surprised if collecting 100 of the specific currency would get you a power move.
Well, it probably would. Well, even though you can use regular coins to buy a power move.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And, like, collecting the Jiggies at Banjo-Kazooie, how once you get one, you don't get kicked out of the level. This game does that same thing, which I actually really, really, really like, because people have always, like, talked about how Super Mario 64 gives you so much freedom because you can get the stars in any order, but I didn't felt like the sense of exploration I felt was kind of lost when you get kicked out of the level for doing something that takes you maybe 30 seconds to do at most. And so I think it's... the sense of exploration is a lot better when you have the ability to stay in the level once you collect the MacGuffin that you're going for.
Well, I feel like it might be a mix. You might be put back to near the Odyssey where you get the story objective ones.
Yeah, that might be the case.
But there's like where you get the story objective Power Moon or Grand Moon where you beat a boss, there seems to be some kind of degree of what you can find along the way. Something like in a Metroid game.
One thing I also really like that I saw that they have like each of these bigger areas, they have like these, they're like very open to exploration. There's a lot to do in those, but I do love that they have these smaller areas, and the level design in the smaller areas it's very much like the Galaxy games in 3D Land and 3D World, where it's like a lot more linear, and that's part of the reason why I like 3D games like 3D Land and 3D World so much. So having areas like that actually is one of the more exciting things for me in the game. Like, I remember one of the, like, I think it was like the last thing that they showed in the treehouse for Super Mario Odyssey. That looked so Super Mario 3D World to me. The level design just screamed 3D World to me. This game is, God, I want to play this game. I really want to see how I'll feel about a game structured like this. 3D collectathon platformers have never really been my thing, but everything in this game looks phenomenal. It's easily the game of show for me. It reaffirms my most anticipated game status. I really cannot wait for this game, and it's not a long wait. It's coming out October 27th, which is way sooner than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be that typical Friday before Black Friday that Nintendo seemed to covet so much, but it's coming out in October, which is surprising. And I think that's going to be a good thing for other games like Sonic Forces. Like, Sonic Forces no longer has to compete with this game, and I'm glad for it. But for you, this isn't the Mario game you're most excited for. Tell people which Mario game or which video game period you're most excited for.
At first, I thought it would just be the Kirby game.
Yeah, like, I was hyping up showing you the trailer for this game. I was when you saw Kirby for Nintendo Switch, you were thinking, oh, this is probably like, well, this is my most excited for game. Like, no, I was like, no, it's not. Like, I guarantee you, no, it's not.
I was like, I was at first, I'm like, okay, he's just bullshitting me. I was thought he was just bullshitting me.
No, I wouldn't hype this up if I was 100% certain you're going to be more excited for this than anything else. You can see, like, everybody, like, basically jizzing all over Super Mario Odyssey. You don't care.
Like, and then it started, and people probably have an idea of what game we haven't talked about, but I still had to get to it. When I saw the various laughters, I was like, no, this couldn't be. I saw this and this in 14 years, I'm like, no, this couldn't be. I saw the Yoshis, I saw the theater, I saw them run in, strike a pose. And I just pretty much flipped it. Mario Luigi Superstar Saga is getting a 3DS remake.
So, explain why you're more excited for this than anything else right now.
I don't say this about a lot of games, but I say this about Mario Luigi. The original Mario Luigi Superstar Saga is my favorite game of all time. My favorite game of the Mario series ever. This is still the best game. I consider this the best game ever made.
And the most amazing thing about this is that this was leaked. You never knew about it.
I never knew anything about this.
And you actually said that, like, even if this was leaked, you wouldn't have believed that it was true.
Because people say a lot of things, and most of it becomes bullshit in some way.
You would have thought it was too good to be true, but...
Like, yeah.
What do you think of it? How it looks, how it seems to play?
I'm like, it is surprising to see. It's amazing to see how it looks. How nice it looks. It's not just like, it looks like something out of Dream Team or Paper Jam. Like, no, this looks has this very own shading and lighting, very different from the other games. Mario Luigi's animations had some differences, but there still had ones that looked like from Superstar Saga. Mario Luigi's animations when they're about to choose command, when they're dancing, they're still doing that. But it also adds the things that are from. They added the things from more modern games. Like, you can still do a double. You can still use the stomp to attack an enemy twice. Like, but even then, I'm glad. But also, I'm glad to see that Bros moves are back. Actual Bros attacks are back. Splash Bros is back. Bounce Bros is back. Chopper Bros. All those moves I use to all ends, to all day, every day. They're back. I was just like, I didn't even think they would add something else to it. Just having this game alone would have been enough for me. But they added more to it.
Yeah, the new mode, Bowser's Minions, what do you think of it?
I'm not sure how I think about it, but I do find kind of it's an interesting story because in the actual, people who don't know, in the actual Superstar Saga, you just see a couple of Bowser's Minions just lying on the ground after you go past Star Beams. After you go past the Stardust Fields on Mushroom Kingdom side, you just walk by them, never see them again, and you don't really have to give a shit. It's like after that, you're like, just shrug, and that's it. Then you jump over, you walk by, do some jump rope, that's it. But then they have actually kept a track of one of the things is that Bowser ends up missing. Well, if you play the Superstar Saga again, like I know, you know what happens to Bowser throughout the whole thing, and they're trying their best to find them, and considering how the story goes, it's probably going to be Guildenstern and the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead. It's pretty much probably going to be that kind of conclusion.
Well, for me, looking at it from a gameplay perspective, Bowser's Minions, it looks like something that could very easily get extremely tedious and repetitive very fast, but they do have cutscenes to sort of break up, like each break up the action, and this
Canon Immigrants, the trio, Corporal Paraplot, I'm assuming Corporal Paraplot is there, because Sergeant Guy and Private Goop are there too.
This seems like something you would probably play, like, in between, like, moments in the main game,
Probably.
And even if it turns out to be garbage, you probably don't even care.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't touch it. I just nope, Superstar Saga. I got Superstar Saga, yeah. Cool story, Captain Good, but I don't care.
And the game is coming out October 6th.
Yeah.
Pretty soon.
It's exciting. It's really exciting. I'm not kidding, folks, when I say that. People act like I'm just saying this. I really don't go out my way.
You guys have no idea how much he loves this game.
This game. I got Mario Luigi up to level 99. I played that much of it. I know pretty much every enemy pattern. I haven't recognized. I can get through a fight without getting hit. I use the bonus ring like nothing. And part of me wonders about that too. Will they actually put the original thing of Star Beads, but they probably would just have gags. So. I'm not sure they would have gag or actually do what they meant to do with the original Star Beads Cafe.
Which was have cameos from
other video game characters.
Well, other Nintendo characters.
Other Nintendo characters in particular. Because, they might not do it, they might, because I'm thinking of Fire Red Leaf Green. Because the original thing, the Sevi Islands, was supposed to be the original Red and Blue. Or Red and Green if you're from Japan. That they were supposed to be, the Sevi Islands were supposed to be there, but they couldn't find the time to put it in. So
I think it was also because, well, maybe not because of space. I think space might have been an issue too. But.
So part of me wonders, well, this version, because I kind of get to that about that was spoiler territory. That there was a coffee shop in the BB Kingdom, and once you brew the coffee, Gad showed up and gave you something. In the original game, they were going to have certain characters that showed up. And if you paid attention to the items they gave you, like the Great Force, you could probably guess who was supposed to give you something like that.
It's kind of interesting that, like, both of our most anticipated games are Mario games, both different types of Mario games. And then there's this Mario game, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. We've heard, like, rumors about this game for months and months. It got leaked, I think, a few weeks before E3, and, like, just hearing the idea of it, like, I was inclined to think that it's real because it fell into the category of why would anybody make this up? Like, why would anybody think of, okay, we need to come up with this fake rumor. I got it. Mario and Rabbids. That's, like...
Part of this camp will find that wacky.
Yeah, if you ever needed a video game trailer that defined WTF, this trailer for this game will do it. It's Mario and friends and the Rabbids playing XCOM, basically.
The game no one asked for, but we decided, what the hell? We wanted it.
Like, I can't even really describe this game. That's just how it is. Like, I remember, like, hearing about it when it was, like, actually leaked, and, like, just hearing, like, oh, it's, like, Mario and his friends are using weapons on, like, wait, white. When I first heard that, like, white. And, like, even then, like, when the official trailer showed up, people have, like, kind of made parallels and jokes to Shadow the Hedgehog, and I was thinking, well, like, yeah, but at least they aren't swearing, and then you see in the trailers footage that one of Mario's weapons is called Hell in a Shell.
Yeah.
And, like, the difference between this and Shadow the Hedgehog, it's even with, like, even with that weapon name, it's clear that this game is not taking itself seriously at all.
Now, we have characters do wacky things, like, you have the characters deal with a serious problem that the Rabbids are running rabid in the kingdom. Because Bowser's on vacation, Bowser Jr. decides to attack the
I
kingdom,
love that platform that Bowser's on vacation. Like, so are they saying that Bowser Jr. is going to be, like, the main threat for this game, or is Bowser going to be back for, like, it's like, hey son, I'm back from vacation. What the crap is this?
I'm just thinking of that, how it should have ended with Breaking Dawn, with Charlie going like, hey guys, I'm back with my fish, and what's going on? Oh, and then he sees everyone's grave. Admiral Fury killed him.
I'm surprised how positively people are reacting to this game. I kind of want to play it just for the sheer WTF factor.
Yeah.
I'll also mention that I do love Rabbit Peach. I really do.
How she takes selfies. One of my favorite things is she grabs Peach's dress and says, makes her face like, yeah, I dress so much better than this asshole. And just struts off. Where she's the polar opposite of Peach. Peach is mild-mannered and pleasant.
Yeah, even when using, like, even after she's done using her weapons, she's still that way.
Rabbit Peach is very hot-tempered and very kind of comes off as kind of conceited. Comes off as conceited. The way how she constantly takes selfies, casually takes out a blaster, shoots a rabbit like nothing. But this makes it funny how it is.
You know, the two of us have been, like, debating whether or not this game is weirder than Super Mario Odyssey. And when you look at everything, it's kind of hard to say.
Like, you have a giant rabbit Donkey Kong who never heard of Leg Day. But then you have Mario possess Yoshi for the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
Yeah. Speaking of weird games, there's Miitopia. Is there anything else you have to say about this game now that you've seen more of it?
I'm not sure if I would play this kind of game, but I still do like the fact that you can get your friends to play as, to be your party members or other characters.
I do really like the novelty factor of the game. I don't know if it'll, like, wear off or get old with people or annoying, but I do appreciate that sort of effort put into that.
Where how your team, it has like moments of like similar to some RPGs like Fire Emblem, where your affinity will make fights a lot easier.
Yeah, it's surprisingly silly, but there's a lot of depth to the game.
Where like your party members have mods of their own, and if they're not working together, fights can get pretty hectic. Where like we saw in the earlier one, if they kind of butt in and they start arguing.
Another 3DS game that they showed, and it's out now. Oasis. This is a game that you've been very interested in. The Treehouse footage that they showed mostly focused on hieroglyph labyrinths. What did you think of those?
I might not do them, but I might try them once and see what happens, and then I get my ass kicked.
Is it the sort of random factor That's
Right, well, it's probably like it's like one of those factors is something the game where they have a random sprawling dungeon where it's never really the same, and thus it's like a roguelike experience where it's more or less luck, depending on how well you. And sometimes.
Well, to be fair, you can basically set the difficulty.
You can basically set the difficulty, which is good. So you don't. So you're feeling lucky or feeling daring, you go all out for it.
I know you don't have the game yet, but do you still want to play it?
I still want to play it.
Okay, cool. Another game that's out by now, ARMS.
Yeah.
Well, all they really showed that was really new that we didn't really get a good look at were, one of the, I'm guessing is supposed to be a boss character, Headlock, and, another boss character who is also a DLC character, Max Brass. Looking at Headlock and Max Brass, like, Headlock basically makes me think he's the Goro of this game.
Where he's pretty cheap.
And on that...
He has 3 arms, 1 on each side, you only have 2. Who is really gonna win this fight? And he will have... And he'll
like,
have,
even if you're like...
He'll be on the body of a character.
Like, they showed, like, 2 against 1, like, him being the 1, and even then, he's still...
He had to essentially, if he's put on the head of a character, he's put on the body of a character, I'm assuming he'll have their abilities. So, yeah, now we gotta imagine him with Twin Tails abilities of being Bayonetta, and that's just gonna be trouble.
And Max Brass doesn't look... he looks kind of difficult to face up against, too.
You're essentially facing a character
Like, he's... Maybe this is not the most apt comparison, but going back to Mortal Kombat, if Headlock is Goro, then Max Brass I would probably say is like Shao Kahn.
He probably is, but he also seems to have Spring Man and Ribbon Girl's abilities.
Yeah, that's the other weird thing about him. He has abilities, a bunch of little things from other characters. It seems like.
Well, his main ability was he can pretty much use the P90X, I guess. Or he's just he can make himself extremely buff to the point where he's essentially Mechanica and Master Mummy, where he can't really.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's like, wow, you guys sure you want to replace him as a character that you can play as? It's like being able to play as Goro or Shao Kahn in like Mortal Kombat Trilogy. It's like,
yeah,
that sounds unfair, but. We'll see what comes of that. Splatoon 2, we got an extensive look at the Salmon Run mode. It looks really freaking hectic. Like, even on lower difficulty settings, it looks pretty challenging.
Where you are essentially you're playing a mob rush. You're playing I thought it'd be something like tower control, but not really. It has elements of tower control where you have to kind of have some kind of ground.
Yeah. But it looks like a really, like, balls to the walls fun mode.
And then we get more of the new species, the Salmonids.
Yeah, I like how they put it out there. We have the Inklings, we have the Octolings, and now we basically have this third race that you kind of...
The Inklings, Octarians, and the Salmonids. Yeah, we have... This is their rise to glory of being a part of an evolutionary ladder.
The one other thing I'll mention about Salmon Run is that boss that you work for in Salmon Run, he sounds like a massive slime ball that you definitely should not work for.
Yeah, these 14-year-olds are going to work with this guy.
It feels shady, to say the least.
Well, the Gruzco advertisement was on
they're like, hey, you'll totally like working here. It's not dangerous at all.
Great business opportunities of dealing with deadly salmon creatures.
And lastly, we're going to talk about Sushi Striker, the way of Sushido. It's, I guess, an anticlimactic game to finish with, but it was the last new game Nintendo showed, so let's go with it. I will say the trailer music for it was pretty freaking awesome.
It's so animated.
Does looking at this game remind you of another game?
You're thinking Puzzles and Dragons? Is that it?
I was kind of thinking that.
It didn't make me think of that one so much.
Well, maybe not so much gameplay, but like, does Puzzle and Dragons have like a level-to-level structure, sort of?
To some extent, yes, it does. It actually does, but I didn't think it would like that.
Does this look like something you would play?
I'm not sure.
For me, this looks like one of those puzzle games that anyone could play and like people could be really good at, but for some reason I would suck at. The one last thing I will mention is that I do kind of like the design of the female version of the protagonist, even if she does look like she has like antenna.
And the plot is pretty wacky, and also pretty wacky.
Well, name a puzzle game that doesn't have a ridiculous plot.
Puzzles and Dragons. I know the world game broken apart is pretty wacky, but it's still pretty grounded because it's an organization trying to take over the world and they separated it. And it's up to you to beat them and actually put it back together.
Well, it looks like a decent enough game. I just don't know how many people are actually going to be interested in it. So, E3 this year for Nintendo was really awesome, and there's some cool non-Nintendo games here and there. 2017 is really shaping up to be probably the most awesome year that video gaming has had in a really, really long time. Especially for gamers who started gaming from, like, the 6th generation or earlier, I mean. Bomberman, Crash Bandicoot, Samus is returning, Sonic Mania is about, we had Breath of the Wild, there's a Superstar Saga remake. People are the most excited for a Mario game since probably ever. There's a lot of amazing things coming in 2017 and beyond, and I'm so ready for it. Well, we still need a Nintendo Switch to enjoy some of it, but I'm really happy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So let's end this discussion right here. I am Espionic.
And I'm Yoshi Power 4.
Waiting for Mario Luigi
Saga.
Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. Goodbye, everyone.
Like, see ya.